This is VOA News. I'm Steve Miller. Russia came under pressure at the United Nations Security Council from its ally China and developing countries, as well as Western nations, in an attempt to avert a global food crisis and quickly revive Ukrainian grain shipments. Rosemary DiCarlo is the United Nations Undersecretary General for Political and Peacebuilding Affairs.
The new wave of attacks on Ukrainian ports risks having far-reaching impacts on global food security, in particular in developing countries. Furthermore, as we have repeatedly stated, attacks against civilian infrastructure may constitute a violation of international humanitarian law.
The attacks followed Russia's decision on Monday to effectively end the Black Sea Grain Initiative, the UN-brokered accord that facilitated Ukrainian grain and foodstuffs to be shipped to international markets at a time of spiraling global food prices and rising hunger. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky noted that Odessa port, its grain facilities, and surrounding region had once again been a target of Russian attacks, with more than 20 people being injured this week alone. Zelensky says Russia will not succeed in its actions and that Ukraine knows how to defend itself. Prominent Russian Igor Girkin, who had publicly accused Russian President Vladimir Putin and the top army brass of not pursuing the war in Ukraine harshly or effectively enough, was remanded into custody on Friday on charges of inciting extremism. His arrest by the FSB State Security Service suggests authorities have worried of his criticism of what they call Russia's special military operation and perhaps of other loud voices who have appeared to have license to ride the war effort. This is VOA News. A humanitarian worker for the World Food Program has been fatally shot in an attack in Yemen. In a statement, the program said that the employee, a Jordanian, was shot on Friday by gunmen not long after he arrived in the country to assume the role as head of its office in the city of Taiz. It was not immediately clear who was responsible for the attack. U.S. President Joe Biden says that 7 tech companies have agreed to meet a series of safeguards as they develop artificial intelligence technology. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Magani.
Standing with the leaders of Microsoft, Google, Meta, and others, the president said the safeguards his administration brokered are vital to managing AI's upside and downside.
An enormous promise of both risks to our society and our economy and our national security, but also incredible opportunities.
The president says the companies have committed to making sure their AI products are safe before public release, what he calls a fundamental obligation, and will allow security testing by independent experts.
Social media has shown us the harm that powerful technology can do without the right safeguards in place.
He's urging Congress to pass legislation regulating AI. Sagar Magani at the White House.
Thousands of people took to the streets in a handful of Muslim-majority countries to express their outrage at the desecration of a copy of the Koran in Sweden, as these demonstrators did in Pakistan. Friday's demonstrations came a day after protesters stormed the country's embassy in Iraq. The protests in Iraq, Lebanon, and Iran that followed weekly prayers were controlled and peaceful. That stands in contrast to the scenes in Baghdad on Thursday, when demonstrators occupied the Swedish embassy compound for several hours and set a small fire. Music legend Tony Bennett has died in New York at the age of 96. We hear more from the AP's Ed Donahue about his longtime career.
Bennett's style was timeless. Competitive Grammys. All but 2 of those Grammys came after Bennett reached his 60s. In 2014, at 88, Tony Bennett broke his own record as the oldest living performer with a #1 album on the Billboard charts. I'm Ed Donahue.
For additional stories, pictures, and videos, be sure to follow Voice of America on your favorite social media app. This is Steve Miller, VOA News.
Thank you for watching. Can you do me a favor? Please leave a comment in the comments section below. That would really help. Thank you, and see you again soon.